Zach Cox, Dakota Randall here at Gillette Stadium. Patriots cut down day is over. Their initial 53-man roster is finalized. They seem to have finalized most of their initial practice squad as well. And big news from cut down day, Patriots released not only Malik Cunningham, but also Bailey Zappi, leaving them with only one quarterback on their roster. That was Mac Jones. Now, Zappi and Cunningham both returned on the practice squad, so they're still with the team. But what was your reaction to seeing that news on Tuesday?
Yeah, I was both surprised and not surprised. Like, as we got closer to cutdown day, some of the noise you'd hear and just sort of the vibes you were getting indicated that maybe something was up with Bailey Zappi. But the fact that they actually went ahead and released him, just after a year and a half into his NFL career was surprising. Some of the reports indicate that they prefer to go after a veteran to back up Mac Jones. Again, he is back here. They're going to continue working with him. But it's clear they no longer believe in him as the top backup to Mac Jones. And that's interesting. Cunningham, to me, wasn't much of a surprise. I didn't think he looked NFL ready at quarterback or receiver throughout the summer, but definitely someone who, they'll want to work with and potentially keep developing because he does have an interesting skill set.
Yeah, and it's a pretty remarkable fall from grace for Bailey Zappi, if you want to put it that way. I mean, this was a guy who obviously really swept up a large portion of the Patriots fan base last year. He was a guy that we thought may potentially realistically compete with Mac Jones for that starting job this summer. That obviously never happened. Mac Jones decisively outperformed Zappi throughout the preseason and throughout training camp. I thought Zappi really struggled for long stretches this summer, even though he was typically playing with bottom of the roster type guys at wide receiver and on the offensive line. So there's been conflicting reports out there. Some have indicated that the Patriots want to bring in an experienced veteran number 2 for Mac Jones. Some have said that they're okay with just rolling with Bailey Zappi. But it's certainly the fact that they were willing to release him, to expose him to waivers, because if a player goes on waivers, any team can claim him. It really shows that, to me, they don't have a ton of faith in Bailey Zappi and his future in this organization.
Yeah, and you mentioned sort of the talk of the quarterback competition, all the things that happened last year, and maybe this might be a talk radio take, but I have to wonder if at some level they wanted to nip this storyline in the bud before it could become a thing again this season. Nobody wants another situation where, whether it's week 1 or week 2, Mac Jones in the offense goes out and have a couple tough drives to start a game, and then the fans are chanting Zappi. Devin McCourty during the offseason even said that the whole thing polarized members of the locker room, that some players wanted Zappi, some players wanted Jones. So part of me just wonders if the Patriots kind of wanted to end that thing before it could get going again, because, and also asking themselves, is Bailey Zappi, the player, worth all the other noise that comes along with it? That's just my calculus. I don't know if that's what they thought, but I wonder if that was part of it or something.
Yeah, man, even despite the fact that Zappi did struggle this summer, this move did surprise many in the Patriots locker room. We talked to Matthew Slater yesterday. He said he was surprised by the move. He said he had mixed emotions because he really likes Bailey Zappi as a teammate and as a player. Obviously, he will be sticking around with the Patriots, so we'll see how that progresses, if at all, in the coming weeks and months. But outside of the quarterback situation, what surprised you most about these Patriots final cuts?
I don't know about a surprise. I was a little surprised to see Ronnie Perkins not make it. I thought he showed enough in that final game. And just
not even on the practice squad as of this point.
Yeah, not even on the practice squad. Just a former third-round pick. I've always thought he had the skills to be a good player, but he's not going to make it. For me, one of my main takeaways from all the roster stuff yesterday was just it's kind of an indictment on their roster construction on offense. Just the fact that they hadn't developed any young tight end who they felt capable enough of staying on the 53-man roster as a third tight end. Same thing with the running backs, whether it was Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris, or even J.J. Taylor. Nobody that they felt was good enough to warrant a spot on the roster. Now they're dealing with guys on the practice squad, maybe going out and claiming guys from other organizations. And then on the offensive line, the fact that they neglected right tackle so strongly, and yes, they went out and signed players, but nobody you consider a top free agent or any real player who was starting caliber, that at the end of the summer they had to go out and make a couple of trades for developmental players. I just think, they didn't put enough, investment into those positions during the offseason and really over the past few years, and it resulted in a roster construction and a 53-man roster on offense that I think just they don't have as much depth as they do on defense, which I think is kind of a hallmark of the way Bill Belichick's built the teams.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a valid point at running back. The Patriots' second-year running backs, Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris, both not on the team. Harris was cut. Strong was traded. It was really kind of an indictment on their entire 2022 draft class because 5 of those players did not end up making the team. At least 5. It might have been even 6. And Tyquan Thornton is most likely going to go on injured reserve.
It is 5
later
players
today.
Yeah, 5 of the 10 players drafted last year either were cut or traded.
And overall, to your last point, I think the biggest takeaway overall, not directly related to roster cuts, but that situation at right tackle, we talked about it a lot last week. We wrote about it before. We are less than 2 weeks away from the Week 1 season opener. And do you know who's starting at right tackle? I don't know who's starting at right tackle.
The crazy thing is my bet would be on Vidarian Lowe,
who has played exactly 33 snaps at the NFL level. So you got Vidarian Lowe, who the Patriots just picked up. You've got Sidney Sow, the rookie who was playing there a lot in the summer, definitely inconsistent. Riley Reif, maybe, but he might go on injured reserve. Connor McDermott's already on injured reserve. Who knows if Calvin Anderson can come back quickly enough. A ton of questions there, and you're obviously going to be facing a very talented Eagles defense in Week 1.
Maybe the best front in all of the NFL.
Yeah,
so it's a huge test right away.
A team that had 70 sacks last season, tied for 3rd most in NFL history. That will do it for us here at Gillette Stadium. Patriots set to practice again tomorrow before a bye week, and then they head right into Week 1.